History often remembers the explosions. It remembers the roar of engines, the raising of flags, and the shifting of maps. But the true weight of war is not found in the noise. It is found in the silence. In early 1945, in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, there was a silence waiting to be broken. The place was Iwo Jima, Sulphur Island, a small, ugly rock that smelled of rotten eggs and volcanic ash. It had no fresh water. It had no trees worth mentioning. But it was the gateway to Tokyo. On this island sat a man who did not want to be there. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi was not your typical imperial officer. He was a man of culture, a man who loved his family deeply. And, perhaps most tragically of all, he was a man who loved America. Decades before the war, he had lived in the United States. He had driven cars across the American Midwest. He had studied at Harvard. He had written home in admiration of American industry and spirit, and yet fate had placed him here, in a dark cave, waiting for the very people he admired to come and kill him. This is not the story of a battle. This is the story of a man who knew the end was coming, and the letters he wrote into the void. To understand the tragedy of Iwo Jima, you must understand the mind of the man defending it. Most commanders in the Imperial Japanese Army believed in the spirit of the offensive. They believed that bravery alone could shatter steel. Kuribayashi knew better. He had seen the factories of Detroit. He had seen the vast fields of Texas. He knew that fighting the United States was a mathematical impossibility. In a letter to his family, long before the first Marines set foot on the Black Sand, he wrote, "The United States is the last country in the world Japan should fight." He knew the industrial might that was sailing toward him. He knew he could not win. He knew no Japanese fleet was coming to save him. There would be no evacuation, and so he made a choice that changed the course of the war. If he could not win, he would make the victory so painful, so slow, and so costly that America would mourn even in triumph. He banned the Banzai charge, the suicidal rush that wasted soldiers' lives. Instead, he gave a different order, an order that terrified his subordinates. "We will dig." For months, the island hummed with the sound of pickaxes hitting stone. The heat in the tunnels was suffocating. The air was thick with sulfur fumes. Men fainted from the temperatures, which could reach 120 degrees Fahrenheit underground, but Kuribayashi was there with them. He did not sit in a comfortable office in Tokyo. He walked the tunnels. He checked the defenses. He shared the meager rations of rice and foul water. He turned Iwo Jima into a honeycomb. 18 miles of tunnels, hidden artillery positions, snipers' nests that could see everything but could not be seen. But while his hands built a fortress of death, his heart remained at home. Every night, under the dim light of a lantern, the general picked up his pen. He did not write about glory. He did not write about the emperor. He wrote to his wife Yoshi. He wrote to his son Taro and his daughters. These letters are haunting. They are not the words of a demon, as the propaganda portrayed him. They are the words of a father who misses dinner. Listen to the voice of a man running out of time. In one letter, written while the U.S. Navy was already gathering its strength, he scolds his son about his handwriting. He writes, "Taro, your handwriting is terrible. You must practice more. And please, help your mother in the kitchen. She is carrying a heavy burden." In another, he worries about a draft coming through the window of their home in Tokyo, asking his wife if she has fixed the screen. It is surreal. Here is a man commanding 20,000 soldiers preparing for the deadliest battle in Marine Corps history, and he is worried about a drafty window in Tokyo. But as the days grew shorter, the tone of the letters changed. The longing became deeper. The reality of his situation began to bleed through the ink. He wrote to his wife, "Do not expect my return. I am destined to die here. My life is like a candle flame in the wind. It will be extinguished soon." He was apologetic. He felt he had failed them, not as a soldier, but as a provider. He wrote, "I am sorry I could not do more for the children. I am sorry I leave you alone in this world." He even gave instructions on how to live without him. He told them to be frugal, to sell his clothes if they needed money, to be proud, but to be realistic. This was the private agony of General Kuribayashi, a man trapped between his duty to his country and his love for his family. February 19th, 1945. The silence broke. The horizon filled with ships, more ships than any man on that island had ever seen. The bombardment was earth-shattering. The U.S. Navy rained steel upon the island for days. They believed that nothing could survive such a pounding. But deep underground, Kuribayashi and his men waited. They were shaken, they were deafened, but they were alive. When the Marines landed, struggling through the soft black volcanic ash, they expected a fight on the beach. They found nothing. No banzai charge. No easy targets. Just an eerie quiet. It was Kuribayashi's trap. He waited until the beaches were crowded with men and equipment. He waited until there was nowhere to hide. And then he gave the signal. The island erupted. We will not recount every detail of the fighting here. History books are full of the troop movements. But consider the psychological toll. For 36 days, the battle raged. Kuribayashi commanded from the dark. His radio reports back to Tokyo became fewer and fewer as the antennas were destroyed. He watched his garrison dwindle. He watched the water run out. He watched the Americans inch closer, day by bloody day. By mid-March, the end was near. The general was cornered in a small gorge on the northern end of the island. He had removed his rank insignia. He was no longer a general. He was just another soldier in the dirt. On March 16th, he sent his final message to Tokyo. It was a farewell telegram. It is poetry written in blood. He apologized to the emperor for failing to hold the island, and then he wrote a death poem, a samurai tradition. Arrows and bullets are exhausted, sorrow implies our fall, but my soul shall return to earth to defend the motherland. After sending this message, the radio went silent. There are many stories about how he died. Some say he led a final charge, sword in hand. Others say he took his own life in the darkness of the cave. His body was never identified. The man who had driven across America, who had dined at Harvard, simply vanished into the earth of Iwo Jima. Today, Iwo Jima is silent again. The beaches are empty. The tunnels are collapsing. But if you listen closely to the wind, you can almost hear the echoes of the past. The Battle of Iwo Jima is often remembered for the raising of the American flag on Mount Suribachi, a symbol of victory and resilience. And rightly so, but we must also remember the voice from the other side of the hill, the voice of a father who wrote to his son about handwriting while the world burned around him. General Kuribayashi proved that even in the inhumanity of total war, the human heart remains. He fought an enemy he respected, for a cause he knew was lost, fueled by a love for a home he knew he would never see again. History is not just about the winners. It is about the people. Thank you for watching. If you want to hear more stories from the silent archives of history, please subscribe and join us for the next chapter.